hihintay yun sa iba. So, prepare your exercise on Hyperbola Part 1. Kita ba yung presentation and screen class?
Yes po.
So, let's begin, no? This time I will proceed right away to answering the exercises. I see there's only a few who's watching the video lesson. Kaya pala ito lang yung nakapagsagot ng exercises. Eh, hindi naman ganun karami yung nanood ng video lesson. Okay? So let's begin. Write the equation of the hyperbola in standard form which satisfies the given condition. Dito. Sa inyong mga nagsipasok, meron bang may sagot sa number 1? Yes, can you dictate to me, Raven, your answer? Saglit lang pala, saglit lang. Ating wait lang. Nasaan ang pen? Teka. Okay, Raven, will you please dictate your answer?
Sir, yung mismong equation na po.
Yeah.
X squared over 16
Yeah.
minus y squared over 48 equals 1 po.
So this answer is correct. Very good. Tignan natin, ano? Center at the origin, transverse axis along the x-axis. So the two equations for the hyperbola, dalawa standard equation natin, no? If in the ellipse, we have a major axis and a minor axis. For the hyperbola, we have what we call the transverse axis and the conjugate axis. No? The transverse axis contains the vertices, the center, and the foci. The conjugate axis contains the center and the co-vertices. Alright? If the transverse axis is along the x-axis, the equation is x squared over a squared minus y squared over b squared equals 1. Okay? 2a is the distance between the vertices, and 2b is the distance between the co-vertices, that is the length of the conjugate axis. Now, the relationship, in contrast to the ellipse, where the relationship between A, B, and C is the distance between the center and a focus. No? In the ellipse, we have A squared is equal to B squared plus C squared. No? For the hyperbola, the relationship between A, B, and C, no? The distances from the center to the vertex, from the center to a co-vertex, and from the center to a focus is C squared is equal to A squared plus B squared. For the illustration, remember the video lesson, or watch the video lesson. Now, if the transverse axis is along the y-axis, the equation is y squared over a squared minus x squared over b squared equals 1. In the ellipse, you are able to identify which represents a squared and b squared by identifying which is larger between the two denominators. The larger denominator represents a squared. Now, in the hyperbola, whichever is the denominator of the positive term on the left-hand side of the equation, that is a squared. Notice in these two equations, a squared is the denominator of the positive term, that is x squared over a squared. No? And in the other equation, wala yung aking mouse pointer. Yeah, yeah, I have. And in the other equation, a squared is the denominator of the positive term y squared over a squared. Okay? So it's easy to identify which is a squared, no? In the two conics. Write the equation of the hyperbola in standard form which satisfies the given conditions. Center at origin, transverse axis along the x-axis. So we have this form of the equation. The first one, x squared over a squared minus y squared over b squared equals 1. Now we said that the distance between a focus and the center is c. If the center is at 0, 0, then the value of z is the distance between that focus, 8, 0, and 0, 0. So that will be the absolute value of 8 minus 0. Then c is equal to 8. And we said a is the distance between a vertex and the center. Then a is equal to the absolute value of 4 minus 0. That will be equal to 4. Now to get the value of b, we use this relationship between a, b, and c. Then if we have c squared is equal to a squared plus b squared, then b squared is equal to c squared minus a squared. Doing that, c is 8, so we have 8 squared minus a is 4, then we have 4 squared. That is 64 minus 16, and b squared is equal to 48. Now, if a is equal to 4, a squared is equal to 16. So, this answer is correct. Substituting a squared and b squared to the standard form of the equation. Do you have any question? Class? May tanong
None
ba?
po.
Wala naman. Okay. Next, number 2. Anyone, do you have an answer to number 2? Yes, Padre. Dictate to me your answer.
Y squared over 19 over 16 minus x squared over 19 over 5 equals 1.
Okay, this answer is correct. Y squared over 19 over 16 minus x squared over 19 over 5 is equal to 1. Let's see. If the transverse axis is along the y-axis, then we're using the second equation, y squared over a squared minus x squared over b squared is equal to 1. Sulat natin yan. Y squared over a squared minus x squared over b squared equals 1. Now, the hyperbola passes through the points 5, 3, and negative 3, 2. Huh? We know that the ordered pair is of the form xy. Okay? Then substituting these two ordered pairs or points on the hyperbola will produce two equations in A and B. Then we will do solutions to system of equations. Right? Let's begin with 5, 3. X is 5 and y is 3. So what do we have? Y squared. So that will be 9, no? 3 squared. So 9 over a squared. And x is 5. We have 25 over b squared equals 1. Okay? Let us have this as the first equation. No? Now let us have negative 3, 2. X is negative 3 and y is 2. Then we have 4 over a squared minus 9 over b squared. Negative 3 squared is positive 9 equals 1. Let us have this as equation 2. Alright. Now let us do solution by elimination. Na? Look at the term with denominator a squared. If we're going to multiply for our solution, if we're going to multiply all terms of this equation by 4, that means equation 1 times 4, and equation 2 by 9, this one's by 4, then this one's by 9. Then we will produce another set of equations with the same first terms. Na? Let us do that. For the equation 1, we'll have 36 over a squared minus 100 over b squared is equal to 4. Okay? And then equation 2, we have 36 over a squared minus 81 over b squared is equal to 9. Okay? Now, since we have the same first term, we can just eliminate these terms by subtracting the two equations term-wise. What do we get? Negative 100 over b squared minus negative 81 over b squared. That will be negative 19 over b squared. And 4 minus 9 is negative 5. Okay? Solving for b squared, we have 19 over 5. Okay? Let's go back to let's go back to either equation 1 or 2 by solving the value of a squared. Let's proceed to, or let us use um, equation 2. That would be easier. So we have, wait lang hindi ko na makita yung aking previous ba't naging number 4 na yun? Hindi ko na makita yung mga previous terms. Split natin. We're going to use equation 2 and substitute the value of b squared. So we have, ano na nakuha natin kay b squared? 19 over 5 to equation 2. So that will be 4 over a squared minus 9 over b squared. That is 19 over 5 equals 1. Okay? Now solving for a squared, what do we get? Lagay natin dito yan para kita. Solving for a squared, we have 4 over a squared minus 9 divided by 19 over 5 is 9 times 5 over 19. So that will be 45 over 19 equals 1. Pinapahaba ng fraction yung aking solution. So 4 over a squared is equal to 1 plus 45 over 19. And that is 19 times 1 plus 45. Ilan yan? 64 over 19. Okay? Now we can solve for a squared. A squared therefore is equal to 4 divided by 64 over 19, and that is 4 times 19 over 64. Huh? From here, 4 over 64 is 1 over 16. Then we have the value for a squared. Hence, this answer, punta na tayo doon. This answer is correct. Y squared over 19 over 16 minus x squared over 19 over 5 is equal to 1. Check your work, everyone. Do you have any question? May tanong ba? Hello?
Wala po.
Okay. Next time, number 3. Anyone? Do you have an answer to number 3? Yes, Maruska. You take your answer, please.
Y square over 36 minus x square over 28 is equal to 1.
Okay. This answer is correct. Oh, madali lang naman, di ba? If you watch the video lesson, oh, madali lang din. You're also free if there is something that you do not understand. You're also free to ask me questions, no? Sa messenger. Oh, pwede naman akong tanungin. If I have time right away, then I will answer. If not, then I will answer at a later time. No? Wala pang nagkakamali sa mga sagot. 1, 2, 3. Ibig sabihin, kaya naman kapag pinanood. Ilan tong nasa online class? 7. Tignan ko yung nanood ng video. 6. Paano nangyari yan? Baka mas maaga nanood yung isa. Tignan natin. Let's see the solution to this. Center at origin, transverse axis along the y-axis. So the form of the equation is correct. And actually, I said this is correct. No? Distance between the foci is 16 and the distance between the vertices is 12. Earlier, we said that the distance between the two focus or the foci is 2c, and that is equal to 16. Therefore, c is equal to 8. And the distance between the vertices is 2a, that is the transverse axis. We have 12, then a is equal to 6. Okay? Again, we'll solve for b squared. We know that a squared is 36 already. Solving for b squared, that will be 8 squared, 64, minus 36. And b squared is equal to 28. Substituting, we have y squared over 36 minus x squared over 28 is equal to 1. Check your work, everyone. Okay? Mukhang maga tayo matatapos ha. Ilan lang ba to? 3 lang. Let's see. So we're to identify the bakit ellipse yung nandito. Hindi pa na-edit. Paste. Hyperbola. Okay. You know naman, it's hyperbola because of the equation, no? A term is a negative. Alright. What are the properties of the hyperbola? We have the center. What else? Vertices. Hanapin natin yan. Ano pa? The length of the transverse axis. What else? The length of the conjugate axis. In other references, class, they are also getting the coordinates of the co-vertices, na? The value of b. However, the coordinates of b or the co-vertices are not part of the hyperbola, so I didn't include it here. However, those two coordinates b and b prime are important in uh, graphing, no? Or identifying the graph of the hyperbola. Later, I will show you how to easily graph the hyperbola with center at the origin, no? With using the co-vertices. Okay, so next to conjugate axis, we have the foci. What else are we getting? The length of the latus rectum. What else? Ends of latus rectum. Before you identify the properties, no, it is easier if you identify first the values of A, B, and C. Alright, in here x squared over 25 minus y squared over 9 is equal to 1. Then we have a squared is 25, so a is equal to 5. And then b squared is equal to 9, therefore b is equal to 3. And c squared is equal to 25 plus 9, that is 34. A squared plus b squared, therefore c is equal to the square root of 34. Okay? Since the positive term is x squared over 25, then the transverse axis is along the x-axis. Let's start with the properties. Check your work. Center is at origin, of course. That is what is suggested by the equation in standard form. Na? Next, vertices. We have negative 5, 0 on the left branch. On the right branch, we have 5, 0 along the x-axis. Na? Transverse axis is 2a, so we have 10. Conjugate axis is 2b, so we have 6. Check your work. Next, foci. The foci is collinear with the vertices and the center. And since c is square root of 34, on the left branch, the focus is at negative square root of 34, 0. Okay? And at the right branch, the coordinate of a focus is square root of 34, 0. LR is still 2b squared over a, and b squared is 9, so we have 18 over 5. Okay. The ends of LR, the latus rectum is passing through the focus. No? The latus rectum is passing through the focus. So if uh, the transverse axis is along the uh, x-axis, then the ends of LR must have the same x coordinates as a focus. So on the left branch, we have negative square root of 34. What will be the y coordinate? That will be b squared over a. Split nga ulit natin. Yeah. That will be b squared over a. Then we have negative square root of 34, 9 over 5. Yun nasa taas. And then negative square root of 34, yung nasa baba naman, negative 9 over 5. On the right branch, that will be square root of 34, 9 over 5, yung nasa taas, and square root of 34, negative 9 over 5. You have 4 ends of latus rectum. Okay? Now, let us show you the importance of the ends of the conjugate axis in easily graphing, manually graphing the hyperbola. If we're going to graph, no? You are not asked to graph the hyperbola here. Okay, let's say this is our, tanggalin na natin yung split para mas maluwang ang aking space. Yeah. So how do we graph the hyperbola with center at origin? Let's say this is our x-axis. Na? So, x-axis, kita ba? Kapalan natin. Yan. And then, let's have our y-axis. Yan. Kapalan natin. Pwede na magturo gamit ang Word. Bakit yung iba kumukuha pa ng application? The center is at the origin. You know that the transverse axis is of length 10. And the coordinates will be at negative 5, 0. Vertices tayo, na? Negative 5, 0. Ito yan. This will be a vertex. And also 5, 0. Another vertex. Parang hindi parang hindi magkasinlayo Wait lang. Medyo ganda natin yung estimate ng distance. Yan. Okay. Next. The conjugate axis is of length 6. Nakikita ba yung presentation? Pagka minumove ko? The same speed ba yung pag-move?
Opo, sir.
Okay. So, we have 0, negative 3. Tama ba? B is equal to 3. Yeah. 0, negative 3 supposed to be, kung kinuha natin, pati co-vertices, and 0, 3. Now, how do we graph the hyperbola? To easily graph, draw an imaginary rectangle. This time, mag-object ako pero when you do this, pwede namang manually. Draw an imaginary rectangle containing all the vertices and co-vertices. Ganyan. Imaginary lang. Okay? Galing Pasok yung mga ginawa ko. Sumbira, bumilib sa sariling gawa. Alright. Imaginary rectangle. Now, the hyperbola has asymptotes. Yun ang hindi natin ginawa. Equation of the asymptotes. Dapat may equation of the asymptotes. Buti na lang ginrap ko para nakita natin yan. Buti na lang ginrap ko. Nakita ko yung kulang doon sa ating properties. Later, we'll do the asymptotes. The hyperbola has asymptotes. And these are lines or imaginary lines because these are not part of the graph passing through the diagonal or diagonals of this imaginary rectangle. Ayan yung asymptote ni hyperbola. Okay? So, imaginary yan. So, dash line lang din yung gawin natin yan. Pero medyo kapalan natin para kita. Yan. Okay? Dalawa yung asymptotes niyan ni hyperbola. So, isa pa. Iba pa tayo ng isa. Dapat yan passing through the diagonals. So that's why showing the co-vertices on the graph is also important. Okay. Where is the hyperbola this time? Asa na yung hyperbola? You know that the hyperbola are two branches. And you know the asymptote, this is the line where the graph approaches but do not intersect. So, this time, manually na natin i-drawing yung ating hyperbola. Ito yung vertex natin, nasa 5, 0. So, pag dinrawing na ninyo yung hyperbola, mas madali na. Ayun na yung hyperbola. Approaching the asymptotes, but it will never intersect. Okay? Ay, pumangit doon. Sabagay, pangit naman talaga. Isa pa, bigyan pa natin ng chance. Ganun talaga ang hirap mag-curve, pakaliwa. Okay, so yan na yung hyperbola natin. Now, how do we graph negative square root of 34 and square root of 34? I mean the foci. You know that the square root of 34 is between square root of 25 and the square root of 36, the two perfect square numbers. So square root of 34 is between 5 and 6. So if this is 5, there must be probably 6 here. Ganyan, no? If this is negative 5, then this will probably be negative 6. And since square root of 34 is closer to square root of 36 than square root of 25, then you can just estimate that the focus is closer to 60. Na? So, nandyan yung iyong foci. Okay, do you have any question, class? Hello? May tanong ba?
Wala po.
Wala, okay. Now, how do we write the equation of the asymptotes? Yun ang kulang natin kanina. Equation of the asymptotes. Since we already have drawn the hyperbola, no? You know that from the x-axis, this is b units away. And also from the origin, the vertex is a units away. Hence, it passes through the origin, so the equation of the asymptotes will be y is equal to the slope of this line. Ano yung slope nito? Itong line na to. M is equal to rise over run. Tama? Rise over run. That is B over A. How about this line? Ano yung slope nito? That is negative of positive B over negative A. So that will be negative of B over A. So pagsamahin na natin yung, alam na naman natin yung slope, then pagsamahin na natin yung equation of the asymptotes, that will be positive negative B over AX. Na? Hence, ano yung B natin? B is equal to 3 and A is equal to 5. So the equation of the asymptotes will be positive negative 3 over 5 x or 3x over 5. Okay? So nakita na natin yung pattern kanina. If the transverse axis is along the x-axis, then the equation of the asymptotes will be positive negative b over ax. If the transverse axis is along the y-axis, then the equation would be y is equal to positive negative a over bx. Do you have any question, class? Nagawa niyo ba itong equation of the asymptote, everyone?
Opo, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ako lang pala yung nakalimot dun sa Ako lang pala yung nakalimot dun sa properties. So, if you do not have any question, meron ba? Let's proceed to number 5. Ulitin ko lang, no? Tingnan natin kung kabisado ko ngayon. Center, vertices, transverse axis, conjugate axis, and then we have the foci, and then we have the LR, and then we have ends of LR. So, sama na natin yung equation of the asymptotes. Tama ba? Kompleto ba? Center, vertices, transverse axis, foci, LR, ends of LR, equation of the asymptotes. Copy-paste na natin siya doon sa last. Okay? Now, can someone dictate to me your answer for number 5? Yes, Raven. Center.
0, 0 po.
Okay, next.
0, negative 6, 0, 6.
0, negative 6, 0, 6. Transverse axis,
12 po.
12-bit axis.
16.
Okay. Foci,
0, negative 10, 0, 10.
and then 0, 10. LR,
64 over 3 po.
64 over 3. Ends of LR,
Negative 32 over 3, 10.
next.
32 over 3, 10.
Okay, next.
Negative 32 over 3, negative 10.
Okay, next.
32 over 3, negative 10.
Equation of the asymptotes.
Y equals positive, negative 3/4 x po.
3/4 x. Okay, okay, let us check. So in here, so you will notice, no, the denominator of the negative term is greater or larger than the denominator of the positive term. So it's not the basis for identifying a squared. Kung alin yung kung alin yung positive denominator ng positive term, yun yung a squared. So we have a squared is equal to 36, a is equal to 6, b squared is equal to 64, then b is equal to 8. C squared is 100, therefore C is equal to 10. Okay? Center, of course, 0, 0. So this hyperbola has its transverse axis along the y-axis, no? Because the positive term is y squared over a squared. This is correct. Vertices 0, negative 6, 0, 6. Transverse axis is 12, conjugate axis is 16. It's possible, no? Conjugate axis is larger than the transverse axis. Foci is, wait lang split ko lang ulit. Yan. Importante sa akin yung A, B, and C. I need to check. So foci will be at 0, negative 10. So nasa y-axis, no? Correct? And then LR is 128 over 6. So this is correct. Ends of LR must have the same y coordinates as the focus or the foci. Okay, tapos b squared over a, 64 over 6. Correct? Okay. Everything is correct. Everything is correct. Check your work, class. So we will not graph this anymore, no? Kita na natin yan eh. Number, ano na tayo? Last number, number 6. For number 6, somebody raised his hand or her hand. Sino yan? Yes, Padre. Would you like to dictate your answer or do you have any question?
Dictate po ng answer.
Okay. So let's start with the center. Center,
0, 0 po.
0, 0. Next, vertices.
Negative 6, 0. And 6, 0.
Okay, next.
12. 12 rin po.
Okay. Foci.
Negative 6, square root of 2, and 0 po.
Okay.
And 6, square root of 2, 0.
LR.
12 po.
Okay. Ends of LR.
Negative 6, square root of 2, and 6 po. And negative 6, square root of 2, and negative 6 po.
Okay.
6, square root of 2, and 6 po.
Okay.
Then last 6 square root of 2, negative 6 po.
Okay. Equation of the asymptotes.
Y equals positive negative x.
Again.
Y equals positive negative x.
X. Okay. Okay. Let's see. So for this one, you need first to translate this into its standard form. Dividing all terms by 36, we have x squared over 36 minus y squared over 36 is equal to 1. Hence, a squared is equal to 36 and a is equal to 6. B squared is also 36. This is possible. B is equal to 6 and c squared is 72. The square root of 72 is 36 times 2. 6 is square root of 2. Okay? So we have the center. Wait lang. Move ko lang to. Sa A, B, and C. Yan. Yan. So we have the center, the vertices. And by the way, the positive term is x squared over 36. Therefore, the transverse axis is on or along the x-axis. So this is correct. Negative 6, 0, and 6, 0. TA and CA are congruent. Then the foci also on the x-axis, correct? LR, yeah, 72 over 6, that's 12, correct. And then equation of the asymptotes. Mhm. So yung dalawang line na because the imaginary rectangle that you're going to draw here will be a square. So y equals x and y equals negative x are the uh, asymptotes. But the branches of the hyperbola is still nandun sa ang orientation is on the uh, horizontal. Okay, so everything is correct here. Do you have any question, class? May tanong ba? Your work, everyone? Walang tanong. We still have a little greater than or more than 10 minutes. Is there anyone who would like to start? The brave one who would like to start with the performance task? Meron na ba nakapag-prepare? Hello? Wala pa rin? Is it that difficult? Ha?
Opo.
Yes, sir.
Mahirap ba? Okay.
Opo, sir.
Um, if it's that difficult, then you can include questions in the math calendar. Kung mahihirap yung nasa math challenge problems, try to include questions in the math calendar for both 2021 and 2022. Let's see if someone will be able to start next week. Mas madadali yung problem sa math calendar and mas flexible in terms of possible solution. Maraming pwedeng maging solution yung mga problems natin in math calendar. Okay? So, if those who are not attending the online class will be watching this uh, recording, no? It will reflect a great deal dun sa inyong grade kapag laging late yung inyong exercises. Katulad this time, we only have 6 lang ba to? 7 students, no? So siguro I'm expecting only 7 students to be resubmitting their graded exercises. O paano yung iba? No? It will affect a great deal do sa inyong grade and wala naman iba tayong pagbabasihan kundi yung ating Google Classroom and the activities that I am uh, giving you. Na? Um, So, yun lang. Meron ba kayong itatanong? I-clarify about the activities? Hello, class. So, wala naman. Then, we can end early. Thank you for attending the online class. Still, keep safe. Meron pa rin COVID kahit papano. Meron pa rin mangilan-ngilan. Mag-ingat pa rin. God bless all of you. Dismiss na tayo. Goodbye.
Bye, sir.
Thank you
Thank you
po,
po.
sir. Bye po.